mindfulness practice. So just get yourself seated in a comfortable position, feet flat on the floor, back against the pew. And you can either close your eyes or just have a soft gaze. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am safe. Breathing in, I am loved. Breathing out, I am love. Breathing in, I am imperfect. Breathing out, I am enough. You can open your eyes. So today I'd like to share with you my journey into mindfulness and my search for wholeness. This is an exercise that I first learned and changed everything for me. So I'd like you to either, you can close your eyes or you can read along to yourself, but I'm going to read it out loud to you, okay? I am a good person, but I've made many mistakes. I've made many mistakes, but I am a good person. Just let that settle in. Now let's try this. I am a good person, and I have made many mistakes. I am a good person. Sorry, I have made many mistakes, and I'm a good person. Big difference, small change. The but is exclusive, keeps you small. The and is inclusive and keeps you real. So here, what do you see? I'm really not asking you to answer me. I'm just asking you to think about it. There's another way of looking at it. Hands up if you saw faces. Okay. Hands up if you saw a vase. These optical illusions challenge our perception of reality. So, reality or illusion? How do you see your world? How does the world see you? And how do you see yourself? In mindfulness, like art, we learn to become aware of seeing it all from every perspective. And it helps us tease out what is real and what is really our own illusion. Here you'll see the two halves of our brain. We all have them, unless you were unfortunate to not have that born with that. But it's the left and the right. It's very simplified. There's a lot more complexity to it. But the left side, as you can see, is the verbal, the factual, the sequential, has the language and words, math and science. It's very detail-oriented, objective, practical, time-set, analytical. And the right, visual, imagination, random, symbols and images, philosophy, religion, big picture-oriented, subjective, emotional, no time set, conceptual. You all have that capacity on both sides. Most times we lead with one or the other. But luckily, there's this little cord, the corpus callosum, that is like the connector. You can like phone your left brain up. Hey, I need you. Or, hey, can you sit down for a little while? I need to work. My right brain's got to work. So there's this communication that goes back and forth. The left brain gets a lot of exercise. We do all those things every day, a lot. And we really want to become whole brainers. So let's try an experiment. Take out your piece of paper. When I was a little girl and I was in church, I sat with my grandmother, and I had the program and a pencil, and that's how I got through my chapel or my church experience with doodling. But did you know that actually doodling helps process information? So how many of you doodle in your notebooks? See, raise of your hands. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? Sometimes it helps you process the information that's coming in, and sometimes it helps you process the information that's going out. It just depends on your learning style. So let's try this out to demonstrate how both of your sides of your brain work. Some of you have done this probably before, but on the left side of the top left side of your piece of paper, show you. If you're right-handed, put a little X on the left side. If you're left-handed, put an X on the top right. And then whichever X you're going to work from, you're going to draw a profile view of a face. So if you think you need to go back and see what a profile looks like, I'll put it back there, okay? So as you're drawing the first time, I want you to think about the face as a face. There's a forehead, there's a nose, there are the lips. It's going to look pretty funky, probably. Don't worry about it. This is not about judgment. And there's the chin and the neck. So you go from the top to the bottom. Okay, you ready? This is where it gets tricky. The second profile, you are to draw the mirror image of that face. Only this time, bring a different awareness, a different approach to drawing that face. Instead of seeing it as a face, see it as shape and space, line. And when you're finished, just give me a sign. Give me a sign if you're done. So, how many of you felt a difference in the two ways of doing it? Let's see a raise of hands. If you felt a difference. If you felt a difference. Okay. I would offer this as a great exercise if, in fact, you are feeling too heavily in the left brain and you want to kind of get out of that for a little while. Try this exercise. It'll help flip, because the first time you drew it, you were using your left brain. Stay with me. I think paying attention is on the right side of the brain. I'm not sure. It might be in the middle. It's that cord. So when you were thinking about the face, you were thinking of it logically. Head, nose. That's how the left brain sees the world. When you flipped over to the other side and you were looking at it just spatially, abstractly, negative space, positive space, that's how the right brain views the world. And you all have the capacity for both. This is my dad, NJE, who's named Nicholas Joseph Evangelist. He was here for 40 years teaching biology. You can see the difference right away, right? Science, art. Like we demonstrate the whole left-right brain visual aid right there. This was taken when he was first teaching really young. He looks like one of the students. Very handsome, I think. So he was very left-brained, meaning that's what he led with. He was very concrete, sequential, incredibly organized. Some people knew him from school here. Very, very organized. And he was very well regarded by faculty and students alike. He was sort of an iconic figure. And I knew that. He was also an iconic figure to me in other ways. But I felt really different from him. And that's where my illusion of myself began. And this photo here was taken right before he died, about a year before he died. He was invited back by Ray Broadhead to teach in the bio department a dissection of a pig, I think that is. And he was so excited. He spent days preparing for this. Even though he'd done it for 40 years, he could have done it blindfolded or asleep. He prepared. That was my dad. And that's my dad and me. And even with our differences, I was loved. And he was the reason I became a teacher. This is what he said to me. You should work at Brooks. They need people like you. Really? Every year, while I was teaching in the public system, I'd get a pink slip. Basically meant you're laid off due to budget cuts. Because every year, they didn't have the money for the next year, and the first things to go, art. So that just reinforced my illusions that what I had to offer was not important. But what did he see in me that I didn't see in myself? It took me 3 years to finish this piece after he died, trying to figure out what it was he saw in me. 4 years later, I jumped into this fishbowl at Brooks, scared to death of not belonging, of making mistakes, and appearing stupid. So when he looked at me, this is what he saw. Everything that was already there. And now I've discovered I have so many of his left brain qualities that I hadn't developed yet. It's fascinating. Science and art are coming together all the time. But why didn't I see it? Why do I feel empty? I was afraid. I was too busy looking externally for approval, too busy avoiding being responsible for myself, accepting my flaws, too busy being a victim, too busy living in the past of blame and shame. Do you know this thing where you point your finger at somebody? Do you know what that means? One finger's pointing out, 3 are pointing back at you. A dear friend told me that once, very lovingly. So how do we do it? Well, we stop hustling for worthiness. How many of us hustle? We all do it. Don't try to fool anybody here. We all hustle. And we look for external approval. It's going to be empty. So it's time to get real. Time to get whole. Time to be brave. Enter mindfulness. This is when my yoga, art, and spiritual awakening began. And my art turned inward. And instead of creating art for the outside, external approval, I just created it for myself. I did learn discipline a little bit in yoga. I learned compassion for myself and others. And I found meaning in myself and in everything around me. And actually, Lee will attest to the fact that I find meaning in everything, including probably broccoli. So, what is mindfulness? As you can see, it's an internal inquiry. You observe the present moment. We've done a little bit of this. We're curious, we don't judge, and we don't attach to any outcome. We just have it. We're just there with it. That means the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And we bring love and kindness. Without that, we could have ulterior motives, not such nice motives. And then radical acceptance. It's an idea of just accepting what is, without changing anything, and still be okay. So mindfulness gave me the space to create a vessel to hold all that I am, rather than avoid a hole or negative space. I've come to understand that I need to empty the cup of illusions in order to make space for what is true, not the false sense of self. And I can be all of these things. I just needed to change my perspective by resting in the space of love and forgiveness, acceptance, and vulnerability. Just want to leave you with this last slide, something that my mom passed on to me the day she passed away. So just close your eyes for a minute and feel your feet on the floor. In this practice, personally, I get lost a lot. I don't do it well. I fail. And I get on again and I try again. Every breath is a new chance, a new opportunity. So you now have the two faces that you drew today. And you can consider placing your flaws and your gifts within those faces to look at them and start your own mindfulness practice, to see yourself and others with fresh new eyes and hearts. So feeling your feet on the floor, taking a deep breath in. I am perfectly incomplete. Breathing out, I am completely imperfect. Breathing in, I am perfectly complete. Breathing out, I am completely perfect. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am enough.